What is up, Maniacs, and welcome to Broadened Horizon. I'm your host, Drake Riggs, here to bring you episode 29. Super Horizon 2 is nearly upon us, and that means another great inclusion of Bellator and Horizon fighters competing on the same night. Kicking us off on episode 29 is none other than top bantamweight contender Danny Sabatello. The Italian gangster looks to build back up a winning streak with a big win over Magomed Magomedov at the Big Cross promotional event. After Sabatello is the returning atomweight queen, Seika Izawa, who defends her Horizon title against Claire Lopez. Following Izawa will be the Monsoon, Lorenz Larkn, who competes for the second time in Japan when fighting Andrei Koreshkov in a rematch. And last but not least, McKee joins us, making his second consecutive trip to Japan as he looks to advance through the Bellator Lightweight Grand Prix with a win over Patricky Pitbull. Thanks as always to our great guests for chatting, and thanks to everyone who supports the show, and a special thanks to those who submitted questions for the end. Whether you've been watching on MMAmania.com, YouTube, or listening on Spotify, don't forget to hit like and share if you've enjoyed. First, we're joined by the Italian gangster, Danny Sabatello. Happy Wednesday, Danny. Just how are things? How's life for the Italian gangster these days?
Yeah, life is very good. It's always good, but it's especially good when I have a fight coming up. We're about 3 weeks out from going to Japan, an awesome fighting country. I know the fans are stoked to have me. I'm stoked to go there and put on a performance in front of them. So life is just going good right now. Still some hard training, hard sparring left to do. But pretty much right now, I'm just picturing beating the shit out of Magomed.
Absolutely, man. Love to hear it. And yeah, I gotta know, what was your initial reaction when Bellator came to you with the offer of, getting to fight in Japan and, your first time fighting outside the U.S. too, and to do it in a place with all that rich history and whatnot like Japan? Just how'd you react to that, man?
Yeah, I was fucking pumped. It's no secret that I've wanted to fight Magomed for a while now. After my last performance of beating the shit out of Breno, I called out Magomed. So I think Bellator knew I really wanted to fight this guy, and what better to fight this guy in a country like Japan? That's kind of a place that pretty much everybody wants to fight in. I know it's very far. It's about an 18-hour flight. Very long flight, but you know what? It doesn't matter to me. I don't really care too much about flight time or anything like that. I just really want to fight in Japan. And I know that those fans really understand fighting. I think they actually understand the techniques and the skills that go into it. They're very respected when they're watching a fight. Overall, you just really can't draw it up any better than this. Chicago had a card a couple weeks ago, maybe a month or two ago. I really wanted to be on that card because that's my hometown. But if I can't be in Chicago, there is no better place to fight in than Japan. And there's no better opponent right now than Magomed. So for all this to come to fruition, it's pretty much a dream come true.
Yeah, man, working out very nicely, and I'm glad you mentioned kind of the crowd and the people. Jimmy and I were just talking about that. It's obviously very different in terms of rowdiness, lack thereof, I guess you could say, for Japan. So, is that something you're looking forward to, or think might be weird to have kind of this silence and the big ovations when you do who knows a takedown or something like that?
Yeah, I absolutely love it. Obviously I play into the crowd and I want to get them riled up. I know the Japan crowd is very quiet when fights are going on because they're very actually analyzing these fights. I do love that about them, where they do know a lot about fighting. A lot of the times, most of these motherfuckers out there don't know shit about fighting and they just want to say kill them or punch them or whatever. They have no idea that there's techniques being brought into this. There's traps being set inside the cage. I'm very much looking forward to bringing those fans onto their feet and making some noise. I think if there's anybody that can get the rowdiness and chaos out of them, it's me. I don't really anticipate them being too silent. I think they are intelligent enough to know that I love crowd noise. So I think it's going to be a very unique experience when I fight. And, people are going to see, usually this crowd is silent, but when the Italian gangster is fighting, everybody gets on their feet and everybody cheers. I'm going to change this crowd and I'm going to make them rowdy.
There we go, man. I love to hear it, and I expect nothing less, Danny. So I had a great matchup here with Magomed, of course. Good opponent, bantamweight division, just on fire in the world right now in general. But in terms of the matchup, I know you're always got maximum confidence and whatnot, and he's kind of maybe hungrier coming off a loss. But just how are you kind of viewing the styles clash in this one?
Yeah, well, first off, nobody is hungrier than me, not just as a bantamweight, but in the entire fight game. Nobody is absolutely fucking hungrier than me. You know what? I wake up every morning and I go to sleep every night thinking about fighting, whether it's coming off of a loss or coming off of a win. I will always be hungry. Even if I lose 10 fights in a row, I would not think about hanging it up. All I know is fighting. That's all I really want to do is fighting. So I'm the hungriest motherfucker in the game. In terms of this matchup, we really like this matchup. I've liked the matchup for a while. It's a good thing that this guy has a big name and people really regard him as one of the best bantamweights, because then I can just steal his shine away and I can just keep proving myself that, you know what, I'm the best bantamweight in the world. In terms of his style, it's nothing really too tricky. It's nothing that I've really never seen before. Obviously, I train at the best gym down at American Top Team, and you have so many elite guys with different styles, and you kind of just get to like mimic the different styles of the guys that you're gonna fight. But with this fight, he doesn't have a karate background. He doesn't have a crazy jujitsu background, no crazy wrestling, no nothing. He's pretty much an all around MMA guy. He can be a little bit tricky with his spin. So we kind of have a couple techniques anticipating the spin, because he definitely is going to do that. You know, with his fight against Barzola, he spun a lot. With his fight against Stotts, he spun a lot. So we know he's going to spin. But other than that, it's just going to be pretty much me just dominating him. I know he's traditionally a grappler and people think his grappling is good, but I think he knows that there's no way his grappling is as good as mine. So I anticipate him wanting to keep it on the feet for as long as he can, but I'll touch him up on the feet and I'll make him try to think that he can shoot. And right when he shoots, I'll punish him for it and I'll pretty much just torture him. You know, this is a fight where, you know, I don't really have to be too careful with his style because he doesn't present too many dangers. He likes to go for the guillotine a lot. That's how we finished Barzola. But I got guys like Alexander Pantoja and Pedro Munoz doing guillotines on me every day. I know exactly how to stop that shit. His little pussy ass guillotine isn't gonna do shit to me. So it's gonna be pretty much a dangerous, very nightmarish matchup for him, and it's gonna be a dream come true matchup for me.
Yeah, man. And speaking of the dangers and whatnot, just kind of in terms of the momentum, like he is coming off a loss. So I'm curious in terms of the mentality and whatnot, do you think that will maybe make him at least more dangerous in the sense of maybe he'll be willing to be a little bit riskier with some of the things that he throws at you or anything like that?
Yeah, I think you know, anytime somebody fights me, it turns into a point in the fight, whether it's late in the first, second round, maybe beginning a third. People do get desperate because I put the pressure on them and they start to get tired. And then when they start to get tired, they start to break. You know, once you really start to get tired in that cage against me, you kind of throw caution to the wind and you go through it all. And you know that if you don't land it, you're going to lose. But if you land it, you got to get the knockout. I think with this fight specifically, I think he's going to panic once he feels my pressure and my relentless attacks, that he's going to have to be a little bit risky. But I think I'm just going to overall break him. I think I'm going to make him tap out or TKO him. You know, one thing is once you go to sleep in there, it seems like, because I've never went to sleep, it seems like you never want to go to sleep again. So you'll tap a little bit sooner. I anticipate myself getting in him and maybe a Darce choke, anaconda choke, or guillotine or something like that. And he taps out because he doesn't want to feel going to sleep again. But yeah, I do anticipate him getting a little bit desperate towards maybe the end of the second round, maybe beginning of the third round if it goes that far. I think the first round he's going to want to come out firing because he's going to have to think, you know, I got to get that last fight back. I got to get a win. And sometimes people are too much in their head. You know, they don't let the fight come to them. You know, overall, I do think that with my pace and my pressure, I say this for every fight, it'll break guys. But if you look at my track record, that's exactly what happens. And it's going to be no different with this fucking guy. You know, I'm only getting better and better. My conditioning somehow is only getting better and better. So once I put the pressure on him, he's going to get a little bit desperate and then he's going to break.
Well, you mentioned the ATT teammates who obviously help make you better. I mean, everybody there is an absolute savage, yourself included, obviously. But I'm curious, Danny, like how cool is it for you getting to fight on this card alongside Kyoji teammate as he's going for gold in the new Bellator division? Just like, is that tough kind of for the team formulating camps together, or just like how has this whole process been? And again, like how cool is it getting to fight on the same night when you guys do?
Yeah, it's absolutely awesome, especially when I got a guy like Kyoji Horiguchi on my card. You know, we've been friends and teammates for a while now. Actually, my first fight, he was in my corner. He was in my corner for a couple of my first fights. He was videoing them on my phone and everything when I was on the regional scene. So it's very cool to obviously share that moment with Kyoji. You know, it's no different for American Top Team. We have absolutely studs in every single major organization fighting every single weekend. So just maneuvering around the circuits or practice times or sparrings is pretty much easy. On Saturday mornings, we do our circuits together. And it's just going to be awesome. It's just going to be awesome Saturday night, US time, Sunday morning / afternoon, Japan time. And it's cool. If there's anybody that I could share that moment with, it's not just Kyoji and that he's so close to me, but also he's the king of Japan over there. I know those fans really like him. He's pretty much of a superstar over there. I've seen videos and pictures of them just crawling all over him. They love him over there. So I can't wait to see that. And again, I can't wait to just fight alongside another American Top Team teammate.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And it's kind of great timing aligning with Pantoja's win, like you mentioned him earlier, too. Like, man, what was your reaction to that? That fight was amazing. And, such a great story for him to come out and, get the title in the fashion he did. Just reaction to that, man. Big moment.
Yeah, that was fucking awesome. Not only that he won the belt, but that has to be one of the best fights of all time. Maybe I am a little bit biased because he's a teammate, but I really do think that's maybe top 10, top 15, top 20 fights of all time. Especially with it being 5 rounds. I always put a little bit more stock into that. If you have these crazy wars that are 3 rounds, you got to give more respect when they're 5 fucking rounds. That's almost double the amount of time. And there's nobody more deserving than Alexander Pantoja. If you know his story, it's fucking awesome. He's always in the gym. He's always helping teammates out. Up until his fight, me and him were training alongside each other. And even if I needed extra work, he was willing to stay after practice unselfishly and help me out or help Kyoji out or any of these other guys. So it's awesome to see him win the belt. He deserves it. I know he's the best flyweight on the planet. He's definitely better than Moreno. I think that even in that first round, I thought he was going to finish him there. I think if they fight again, I think Pantoja finishes him. I think he's so much of a better fighter. And he's just the nicest guy in the world. He's a guy that when he steps in the gym, everyone says hey to him because he's the nicest guy. And he's very, very elite. And I'm very happy that people absolutely get to see his skills put on display because I think going into this fight before that, people didn't really know him, even though he already beat Moreno twice. But just fucking awesome for him. And that just shows American Top Team's coming. That's a belt added to our repertoire at American Top Team. And there's going to be more. Kyoji's going to get a belt in a few weeks. I'm going to get a belt after the winner of Patchy and Pettis. So, we just got a lot of shit coming to American Top Team.
Yeah, no doubt about it, man. A lot going on, and it's very cool to watch and see. And, just mentioning that obviously the goal is to get back to the title and everything. So, I'm curious, where do you think a win puts you after beating Magomed? Because clearly you kind of got to wait no matter what, with how things get sorted out with Pettis and Mix and all the craziness in the bantamweight division, like I said. But do you think you'd be one away? How do you kind of foresee things going to get yourself back into that title mix?
Yeah, after I beat the shit out of Magomed, I think I would either be 1 fight away from the title or my next fight would be the title. But the thing is, I don't fucking wait to fight. I absolutely need to get the belt, but one thing I need to do more than that is fight. I am not going to sit on my ass and not fucking fight. If it means waiting 6 months and my next fight is the title fight, fuck that shit. I'll even fight 2 more times in that time. I love fighting. The reason why I do this shit isn't anything other than the pure joy of beating the fuck out of somebody in that cage in front of a large crowd. So with this fight, obviously me and Magomed are both guys that are very high in this division, maybe 1 and 2. And the winner of this probably should get the title shot after. But if it means waiting, I'm not going to fucking wait. And we know Pettis is a bitch. And after he does fight, I know he's going to want to take a long layoff. In fact, I'm calling it now after I beat the shit out of Magomedov. If Pettis gets past Patchy, because I don't think he will, Pettis will not want to fight me. He's going to avoid, I've been saying this for years, Pettis will not fight me. He's going to avoid fighting me. He's going to come up with some sort of excuse to not fight me, but that's fine. I'll fucking find him on the street someday and kick the shit out of him. But, going back to the original question, I do think the winner of this either has the title next fight or 1 more and then the title.
Absolutely, man. And just kind of going back on things now, I'm curious, how you reflect on the Stotts fight, because obviously a very controversial one. I've had plenty of time to, digest all of what happened there, and I'm sure you've maybe watched it a couple times since. But just what were, I guess, the biggest takeaways from that fight, and just how things played out, I suppose.
Yeah, to this day, I know that I won that fucking fight. I don't really care what anybody says. But we've tweaked my game plan a little bit. Looking back, obviously, anytime you lose, there is more that you can be done, even if it was a bad decision. I do take full responsibility, even though I did lose, because I look back and I played it a little bit too smart, a little bit too safe. I remember being in his guard on top of him, holding position, holding control, and thinking, why would I take any risks if I'm already winning the fight and he's not taking any risks? He's not going for any finishes, so why would I? And we've kind of just changed up that game plan of no matter what the fuck is going on in the fight, always be offensive, always go for the finish, always try to TKO him or submit him or knock him out or whatever the fuck it is. So obviously, I think that loss opened up my eyes a lot to MMA and kind of realized what this is as a sport. And what it is either finishing a guy or impressing three people. And whenever you got to impress three people, you just can't leave it in the hands of them because you never know what the fuck is going to happen. It's an imperfect sport. I don't know if there is really something we can do to fix it. I hope eventually we will, but it'll never be perfect. So with the fact that it never being perfect, you just always have to go for the finish. And that's what I've really done with my game plan going forward. And that helps me anyways, because whenever I'm going for something, going balls to the walls nonstop, I have the best gas tank in MMA, and it'll get guys tired in general. So then the finish will come, absolutely. There's no reason I need to be holding or holding position or anything like that. Always go for the fucking finish.
Yeah, absolutely, man. You get the finish. Don't need to worry about the judges. That's always the best part. But I'm curious, though, man, like, what are your thoughts on open scoring? That seems to be the best solution people seem to mention to kind of at least, obviously it's not going to make judges better, but it will at least let the fighters be more aware of what exactly is going on and where they are as the fight is progressing. So are you a fan of that or disagree with the idea of open scoring? What do you think?
Yeah, I'm massively in favor of open scoring. I really don't see how you could not be. And I also think it would bring more clarity to not just the fighters, but the fans. You wouldn't really have too many people saying robbery. If you go into the last round knowing exactly what the fuck is going on, then you really can't blame somebody if they don't want to go for it or whatever. That's on them. Then you can't complain. You can't say robbery. Also, MMA is an evolving sport. It's a very newer sport. If we want to get on the likes of sports like football, baseball, basketball, hockey, golf, every other fucking major sport, they know what the fuck the score is. You won't be in the third quarter or the fourth quarter of a football game and think, oh shit, I don't know who the fuck is gonna win. I don't know who's winning. We'll just see how it plays off at the end. No, that's so fucking stupid. I don't understand. I will never understand the people that say, no, you don't need open scoring. Why? There is no such thing as dumb no information. I don't get it. It rattles me. I still don't understand how this isn't a thing. MMA has been a thing for a while now. How do we not know the sport until the match is over? It's so dumb to me.
Yeah, I completely agree with you there, man. And we're over 30 years now. We can upgrade with the times. Hopefully, we can get some changes sooner rather than later. But we'll just cross our fingers until then. But last thing on Stotts, though, man, I'm curious, like because of how it was, and learning from that fight, like you said, do you hope to rematch him at some point, or are you kind of glad to be past that? And I'm sure that the banter between you guys before took a lot of energy. Like, I'm sure it felt good to move on from it, even though you didn't get the result you wanted. But just, I guess, how has it been moving on? And then do you at least hope to fight him again at some point, or are you totally over it?
Yeah, I fucking hate that piece of shit. That's the guy that I will never be over. I need to fight him again. But more than that, I need to get the belt. I need to be fighting and put myself in position to get the belt. If he stands in the way of me getting in the belt, then I need to beat the shit out of him. I'm hoping, I don't know his timeline because I know he got knocked the fuck out. I don't even know if he's awake yet. But I hope I do fight him someday. I need to fight him someday. That story's not over. I think that's a massive rivalry that isn't settled even remotely close yet. But I hope if I don't have the title shot after this, I hope he's next. I don't know his timeline. I hope he does keep winning. I know he's 34 or 35. I know he's a little bit older, so I don't know if he's coming down on retirement or whatever the fuck he's thinking. I do hope to fight him someday. I don't know if that's what will be next, if that's what Bellator wants. I hope it is. But we're just going to have to see how that plays out. But I will fight him again someday. I really need to.
Yeah, man. You guys generated a whole lot of buzz, ahead of the fight, obviously. And, it was exciting to see for fans to get excited aside from your fighting skills by itself. But I'm curious, just in a general sense, Danny, like, I wouldn't necessarily say that you guys or you in particular are a trash talker, right? You're just talking the truth, man, just saying things how they are. But in terms of like people who are trash talkers and try to really kind of do that kind of thing, where would you say, like, when does trash talking cross the line? Is there a point in MMA, or is it, everything's up for grabs?
Yeah, no, I mean, technically everything's up for grabs, but there will be repercussions. The
Right.
same thing with me. There's a couple of things that I will not allow another man to say to me without repercussions. I will burn your fucking house down. I never go after somebody's family or religion. I don't really see a need for that. It's just tasteless to me. And besides, I don't really give a shit about a guy's family or religion. If I was fighting a guy with a different religion from me, I don't give a fuck about that. What does that have to do with the fight? Absolutely nothing. With the guy's family, I don't really care about his wife or kids or anything like that. I hope they're happy and healthy. The only guy that I fucking hate is the guy that I'm about to fight in the cage. I fucking hate that motherfucker and I want to kill him. I need to be in the mindset going into that fight that I need to beat the fuck out of this guy and absolutely fucking murder him, because it's him or me. And also, I have a fucking goal. I have a dream. I have ambitions. I've had a goal since the day I was born, and that's to be a world fucking champion. And if this guy wants to stand in the way and take that from me, of course I'm going to fucking hate this guy. But it has nothing to do with his religion or his family or anything like that. So even if I were to talk shit about a guy's religion or family, it wouldn't matter, and it wouldn't come off as really genuine. I think we're at a point now where people understand when somebody's trash talk or gimmicks or whatever is genuine or just for show. And whenever I do talk, it is the truth. If I say I hate something, I fucking hate it. If I say I love something, I fucking love it. That's just what it is. At the end of the day, I'll never give a fuck about somebody's family or religion.
Yeah, very perfectly said. I think obviously if they're not involved in the fight, then why, bring it up? And we've seen kind of those repercussions in the past when it has happened. Obviously Habib and Connor's like the biggest example. But anyway, just two last things for you, Danny. Been great getting to catch up with you, man. I want to know what was the inspiration behind the blonde man? Because you never used to have the platinum Danny Sabatello blonde. What inspired that when you first did it?
Yeah, I'm just a flashy guy in general. I have a very loud personality. I think I wanted the MMA world to know exactly who they were dealing with, and they were dealing with the blonde Don. I just like being very loud. I like being in people's faces. I know I'm very Italian, and I kind of wanted to piss people off. That's kind of my thing. I wanted people to say, "Oh, why would he dye his hair blonde if he's Italian? Italians have dark hair." Well, that's just funny to me. Just I love people hating on me. So there was abundance of reasons for the motivation to dye it blonde. That is not done. I will dye it again. I don't know what fight or when. It has to be a good occasion. One thing I do think that did not help me in the Stotts fight was my hair was platinum blonde and I had a little bit of a cut. And when the cut got in the hair, it turned my hair pink and red. And I think the judges who don't know what the fuck they're looking at think that I was very bloodied and damaged up. So I think anytime that you have somebody that really doesn't know how to score around, they look at damage or how a guy is cut or whatever, and they'll just be like, well, this guy looks bloodier than this guy, so this guy won, because they don't know what the fuck they're doing. So I wanted to stay away from that for a little bit, but it's absolutely not done. I think I look sick. I think it pisses people off when I do that. So that will be making a comeback. I just don't know when.
All right, love to hear it, man. And last thing I'll leave you with, Danny, if you never got into MMA, hard question, but what do you think you'd be doing instead?
That is a hard question. I've been asked that, and I don't really have an absolute answer for that. I think I'd be a rock star, something like that. Probably be in a band, doing the electric guitar, something like that, where I would be putting on performances for people. I hope it would be something like that. Either way, I'm a performer. I like being in front of a crowd. I like being flashy. I'm not a guy that can sit at a desk for 8 hours, 9 hours, 10 hours and do fucking nothing and just sit down. I can't fucking do that. I'll lose my mind. Fighting keeps me sane, even though I am insane. My insanity is my only sanity, and that's just really genuine. I can't really do anything other than fight. And so I really need it. And I know that I'm smart enough to understand that my best attribute in life is beating the fuck out of somebody. So I need to go all out with that. It's the reason why I can talk shit, is because I know that I train at the best gym in the world twice a day, every day. So nobody is putting in the work, the hard work as much as me, and nobody has his God-given talents as much as me. So I can talk this shit because I know I can back this shit up, and I'll break someone's fucking face if they have something to say otherwise.
Absolutely, man. So no need to worry about the outside stuff because the MMA thing is going pretty well for you. So on that note, sir, I wish you the best of luck with the fight coming up. Safe travels. Enjoy Japan, and just the whole experience is going to be awesome to see and awesome to get to experience for you. So wishing you the best, man. Thanks so much for taking the time. Have a great rest of your Wednesday.
Yep, absolutely. You too. Thanks for having me.
Next up, we welcome the returning best atomweight on the planet, the Rising Super Atomweight Champion and the Deep Jewels Strawweight Champion, Seika Izawa. All right. Okay. Well, Seika, champ, good to see you again. Always great getting to catch up with you. Just, how are you doing today? Good to see you.
こんにちは、チャンピオン。今日の、気分というか、調子はいかがですか？
そうですね。今日、朝、煽り V の撮影してきて、試合近づいてきてるんだなっていう気持ちですね。
Actually good. And this morning I shooted video for entering, right? And because of that, I really feel the match is coming soon.
Yes, definitely coming up here. And I see you have some friends with you here, so I got to ask, what are the names of the dogs you got, your little puppy friends?
その犬の名前は、なんて言うんですか？
ロイとショコラです。
女の子ですか？女の子と。
男の子、どっちも。
どっちも男の子。
はい。
But both of are boys and the Chocolat and Lloyd.
Okay, very cool. I mean, how many pets do you have, Sek? I know you also have a cat. I've seen you posted on your Instagram, but I didn't know you had so many animals.
なんかインスタグラムを見てたんですけど、結構たくさんの動物に囲まれてることが多いなと思ってるんですけど、お好きだったりするんですか？
そうですね。今、チワワと、あと猫も一匹飼ってて、すごい毎日癒されてます。
Actually, I have another a dog and also one cat. So I always surrounded by them. So they make me very relaxing.
Okay, wow. So is that 3 dogs then? 3 dogs, 1 cat? Okay.
Yes.
All right. Very cool. Happy little family. And yeah, perfect because I got to congratulate you, Sek, on the wedding recently. Congrats on that. Looked like a very fun time. Obviously, a big moment in life. Just how was the whole celebration, tying the knot, and then the honeymoon? Where did you guys go?
最近、とても人生によって大きなことがあったと思うんですけど、それをお祝いするために何かしたりとか、どこかに行かれたとかありますか？
そうですね。沖縄に旅行に5日間行ってきました。
I tripped to Okinawa for 5 days.
Okay, all right, very fun. Was it your first time going there for vacation? Why'd you pick that place?
なんで沖縄に、したんですか？
そうですね。沖縄が結構高校生ぐらいの時に行って初めて行ったんですけど、その時からすごい好きで。で、今年も沖縄に行こうかなと思って行きました。
When I was a high school student, it was the first time to visit Okinawa, and that was memorable. So I chose Okinawa for this time.
All right, fair enough, fair enough. Yeah, definitely a good time to go back. And so I got to put you on the spot now, Zach. What would you say was more special in your life so far? Getting married or winning the Rising title, or maybe something else stands out? Was there something that you would say was more special?
ライジンベルトよりも、なんか結婚だったりとか、なんか他に大切なこととかってあったりされますか？
そうですね。全然種類が違うので、比べらんないんですけど、すごい全体的に今すごい幸せな日々が続いてますね。
なんか、honestly, it is hard to compare with because it is completely different things. So, but yes, of course, I'm really happy life for the moment.
Yes, got a lot going on and in a great spot to be in. Can't really complain about it all, I'm sure. And I mean, you also have the new gym opening up in a couple weeks? Next week, the 16th, I think it is, right? Correct me if I'm wrong, but congrats on that too. I mean, just what inspired the idea to open a new gym, and how exciting is that for you to, do that kind of thing?
そう、最近、ジムを開設されたと思うんですけども、それ、についてどう思いますかっていうところと、なんでそれを開かれたんですかっていうところですね。
はい。もともとコロさんがジムやりたいって言ってて、で、物件がちょうど見つかったので、ジムを開きました。で、まだ、オープン自体はしてないので、16日にちにオープンで、そこから、ジムのことも増えてくるんですけど、そうですね、総合格闘技をもっともっと広げていくためにも頑張りたいなと思ってます。
ゴロさんというのは、どなたに。
コロさん、旦那さんです。
失礼いたしました。それでちょっと忘れちゃった。もう一回だけおっしゃってもらってもいいですか？すいません。ちょっと最初の方が今飛んでしまって、失礼しました。
コロさんが、
はい
ずっとジムやりたくて、で、物件とかもずっと探してて、やっと見つけて開くことができました。
失礼いたしました。Actually, my husband wanted to opening gym for long time, and this time, luckily, we found a good place, so we decided to open new gym this time. And actually, it is not yet open because it opened on 16th. And from that time, we have to do a lot of gym stuff. But now I'm really excited.
Yeah, definitely always a very cool thing to, kind of see fighters getting involved with and having their own spaces like that. And I'm curious then, will it change anything in terms of your training in the future? Obviously, I'm sure it won't affect anything for this fight, but will that affect preparations, I guess, going forward now that you have kind of this new place at your availability?
新しいジムを開設されるっていうところもあって、そのトレーニングに何か影響があったりとか、何か変えられるようなことってあったりされますか？
自分自身はもともと言ってたケイクランでの練習は変えずに、そこに逆にプラスして日中も練習を多くできるようになるかなと思います。
Actually, maybe I don't change training which I practiced, but I can more this for days.
Absolutely.
Because before I train just after evening, but thanks to a new team, I can do more practice.
Yes, of course. You have all these options at your disposal now, so it is definitely very cool to see. And what was also cool to see, Seika, was your last fight that you just had recently against Amp the Rocket, your first time back in the deep cage since you joined Horizon, and of course got the win there. Great performance with the triangle, finishing her in the first round. I know you're a very harsh critic of yourself, so I'm curious, were you happy with the performance? Did it go as planned?
ディープの後にライジン戦って、ファーストラウンドで三角締めで勝って、そうですね。三角締めでファーストラウンドで勝って、そのパフォーマンスに関して、なんていうんですかね、幸せだったりとか、なんか満足いくものだったりはされましたか？
そうですね。やっぱり久しぶりの試合で、自分の試合感とかどうなんだろうって思ったんですけど、やりたい動きがすごい全部できて、で、最終的に決めきることもできて、すごい嬉しかったです。
Actually, it was the 久しぶりなんだっけ
Long time.
Long time. It was a long time. The first time, long time, that much. But I can do everything as my plan, and and I was really happy because I can get ippon.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, can't go wrong with the first round finish ever. So it worked out pretty well for you. And now getting right back in there. I would love to see you so active, Seika. And I know that's always what you want to do. And especially with all the things going on, it's very impressive for you that you can juggle all these things. So Clara Lopez, obviously next, and she got a great win over Reina in her debut. Just curious what you thought of, her performance and win against Reina, and then just what you think of her as, your upcoming opponent here.
なるほど。今度の相手のクレア・ロペスさんが、まず以前の戦いで、レイナさんを、倒したわけですけども、それに対して、なんかどのように、思われますか？どのように、見られておりましたか？
そうですね。すごいパワーのある選手だなっていう印象で、1ラウンド目特にすごい、爆発力があって勢いのある選手だなって思います。
So I think she is very strong and tough, and she's very quick, and like exposing. So particularly at the first round. So
Absolutely. I mean, she's definitely, it's crazy to get a win the way that she did against Reina. So we'll be curious to see how she can kind of match your great submission abilities. I'm sure it won't be too much for you to handle. But in terms of the striking, I mean, obviously something you're continuing to improve on in your career, Seika, and, against her, some people will say that she has the advantage in the striking department. So I'm curious for you, are you wanting to maybe test some of your striking skills against her before taking things to the ground, or do you kind of want to go there right away? What kind of approach are you feeling going into this one without giving away your game plan completely, of course?
クレア・ロペスさんは、ストライキング、立ち技っていうところに、定評があるっていうところで、下馬評高いわけですけども、それに対して、寝技に行く前に立ち技で戦うだったりとか、なんかそういったところに何か考えられていることはありますか？
そうですね。スタンドも結構自分も練習して上達してきてるので、スタンドでも全然戦えるのかなって思います。
I recently practiced striking, and it's getting better and better. So I think I can fight enough with her by striking, I think.
Yeah, of course. It's, again, always testing yourself in all these matchups, right? So looking forward to that. And, Seika, you were supposed to fight Miyu Yamamoto a couple months ago, right? And unfortunately, she had the injury to the ACL, so she's going to be out for most of the year now, right? And I'm curious, is that a fight that you still kind of hope to happen at some point? Obviously, who knows if it will now, because, she was planning to retire, and an injury like that's pretty serious, especially with the age, all these factors considered. But would have been, a fun stylistic matchup and test for you again, speaking of these tests. So is that something that if it can happen, you still want to fight Miyu at some point?
伊沢選手、質問はですね、いろいろとありましたが、まだそのミユさんと試合が決まってそれがなくなったりしたじゃないですか。で、ミユさんも怪我があったりいろいろある中で、まだミユさんへのこだわりってあったりしますか？
そうですね。やっぱりミユ選手すごい尊敬してる選手なので、その引退試合としてできるならばやりたいなっていう気持ちはまだあります。
So I do respect Miyu a lot as a fighter and as a person. So if I were to be able to take part in her retirement fight, I would be absolutely honored to be her last fight. So yes, if if it makes sense and if the opportunity shows, I'd still definitely like to take that fight.
Yeah, it'll definitely be a fun one to see, and we'll just have to wait and see how things shake out, and for her to get fully healthy again is the first step and all of that, of course. So just we'll see how things play out, indeed. But Seika, we haven't spoken since I think it was before your before your rematch with Siwoo Park. I think was the last time we spoke, and so that was obviously a very good, very competitive fight, a big one for you, the tournament finals, right? So I'm just kind of curious, especially now having had the months to reflect on it. A very tough fight. How do you reflect on it, and how do you kind of feel about that victory, and where you would rank it as one of the tougher amongst, I guess, the fights that you've had in your career so far?
伊沢選手と前インタビューしたのって多分、パクシュー選手との試合の多分直前だったと思うんで、長いこと伊沢選手とインタビューできてなかったんですが、そのインタビューの後、トーナメントの、決勝戦でパクシュー選手とまたリマッチを戦ったわけなんですが、非常に厳しい試合に、なったと思う、苦しい試合だったと思うんですけれども、試合を今振り返ってみて、伊沢選手にとってどんな、試合だったのか、そして試合で勝てたことが自分のこのキャリアの中で、どれくらいの、達成度というか、でどういう立ち位置、勝利は伊沢選手のキャリアの中でどういう立ち位置なのかちょっと教えてください。
そうですね。やっぱり試合自体は、自分の作りたい寝技の展開がほとんど作れなかったような試合で、そうですね。きつい試合だったんですけど、でもそこでやっぱり勝ち切ったっていうのがすごい自分の中でも自信になっていて、で、あそこで勝つと負けるってすごい全然違うと思ってて、やっぱりトーナメントの決勝戦で優勝と準優勝って全然違うので、そこで勝てたのはやっぱり今でも今後のキャリアの中でもすごい重要な勝利だったのかなと思います。
So looking back at the fight itself, I wasn't able to enforce my plans. I wasn't able to fight at my strength. So yes, it was a very frustrating fight from my point of view. And yes, indeed, it was a very a tough, gritty fight. But for me, being able to grind out such a tough win against a tough opponent definitely boosted my, it helped my confidence. It definitely built my confidence. And just the fact that, a win and a loss in that situation is night and day, because you're fighting a tournament and the winner and a runner-up, it's a totally different position you put yourself in a tournament. So with that said, being able to win a tough fight and being able to win that tournament overall, definitely will help me. That experience itself will help me with my future career, and it definitely helped with my confidence.
Yeah, and I know that we've talked about, the first fight before, and how you've said that was, at the time, one of the toughest, if not the toughest fights of your career, your first fight with her. So I wonder, like, in the rematch, were you surprised by kind of how it went, or were you like pretty much expected that because you had fought her the first time and you knew how tough it was already?
前に、パク選手、その決勝戦を戦う前のインタビューで、パク選手との1回目の試合について、本当に強い選手ですごく苦労したというふうにおっしゃっていたんですが、今回また2回目リマッチを戦った上で、一番最初にパク選手と戦った時よりも楽な展開を作れましたか？要は1回目戦っている経験があるんで、2回目の方が楽だったのか、それともパク選手がより強くなって逆にもっと辛かったのか、そこら辺の手応えってどうでしょうか？
同じぐらいでしたね。やっぱ1ラウンド目バックつけたのがすごい大きくて、ずっとコントロールできたので、そこはすごい楽だったんですけど、逆にその1ラウンド目で足が結構疲れちゃって、そこから2ラウンド目、3ラウンド目の体力的なしんどさが結構あったので、その体力っていうか、その試合のきつさ的には同じぐらいでした。
So overall, it was about the same. It was the same tough fight as the first one, because it was, for me, it was very good that I was able to secure the back position in the very first round. and that turned out very well. But because of that first round, I kind of tired my legs because I wanted to hold on to that position so much. So which resulted in my fatigue and my pace slowing down in the second and third round. So overall, the fight was tough, and I can't really compare the two.
No, fair enough. And still both of you guys the best in the world, Sek, and looking to stick around for a good long time now. So do you think that you will fight again at some point?
まだ伊沢選手もパク選手もキャリアまだまだ先長いと思いますし、今とても高いレベルで、お互い切磋琢磨していると思うんですが、今2回やって、この先お互いがキャリアを続けていくとなると3回目っていう可能性はあるんでしょうか？
どうなんですかね。組まれればあると思うんですけど、でも自分的には多分何回やっても同じような展開になっちゃうんじゃないかなって思います。
Yeah, I'm not sure about that, but if the offer is made, I'm sure the fight will happen. But from my point of view, regardless of how many times the fight gets booked, I think the results and the flow of the fight is going to be similar.
I mean, hey, the results speak for themselves, Seika. You're 2-0 against her, so I got that on your side for sure. And it's only going to keep getting better from there as you continue to grow, I would imagine. But it's always so exciting and fun to watch you do your thing on the ground. One of the best submission specialists in the game right now, Seika, is the best atom weight in the world. I'm curious though, for you, like you've hit so many great submissions in your career already, and the armbar over Miki Matono, just the last one, the triangle on Amp. I mean, in terms of submissions themselves and actually applying them, like, do you have a favorite submission, or is it kind of just whichever one works is your favorite?
伊沢選手は本当に私から見てもその世界一のアトム級の世界一の選手だと思ってますし、伊沢選手の寝技だったり、そのサブミッションの決める能力っていうものに対しても素晴らしいものを持っていると思います。この間の元の選手の腕十字だったり、ハムザロケットに対しての、決めだったり、そういうものが、非常に光る、技が光る、選手だと思うんですけれども、伊沢選手ご自身で得意な、サブミッション、もしくはこれが好き、これやれるならこれで決めたいっていう、技ってあったりしますか？
そうですね。やっぱりフロントチョークが一番好きですね。
Yeah, my favorite move is the front choke.
All right, what is it about that one?
そのフロントチョークにこだわる理由、それが一番好きっていうその理由は何でしょうか？
コロさんに教えてもらって、で、練習でもすごい決めれるので、で、決まんなかったとしても、そこからすごい展開作れやすいので、フロントチョークが一番好き。
Yeah, this front choke is something that Coral taught me, and it works for me. I think it's very convenient to use, and even if I can't get the tap out, I can use it for transitions, and it becomes a key move, either if I finish it or not. So it's a very convenient move for me, and it fits me well.
Yeah, absolutely wonderful explanation there. And, I think that's one of the most impressive things about kind of your grappling in particular, Sek, is that you seem comfortable wherever the fight goes, whether you're controlling from the top or on the bottom, you're always in control no matter what kind of position you're in. But from your perspective, do you have a preference where you like to work from better, whether it's on top or the bottom?
伊沢選手は本当にどんな状況でも素晴らしい動きで、フィニッシュを狙いに行く、選手だと思うんですけれども、なんか特別にどこからでもフィニッシュできる素晴らしい選手だっていうふうに思ってるんですが、自分からしては下の展開なのか上の展開なのか、特にこっちの方がやりやすいなっていう、ポジションとかあったりしますか？
やっぱ下からのガードポジションが一番攻めやすいです。
Yeah, I prefer to be on my back, and I feel like I'm more comfortable off my back working from the guard.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, we've seen you work the up kicks from that position too, so it's a good option there to have those as well as the submissions, right?
そうですね。伊沢選手はそうですね、あれですよね。蹴り上げとかいろいろと使ったり、非常に ガードの状態から背中ついた状態からいろんなオプションがあるので、そこはとてもよく理解できます。
ありがとうございます。
Yes. And it's kind of interesting, Seika, to see. I mean, it's been so fun and fascinating just to watch your career so far, because you still are as young as you are, but already, who most people would consider the consensus number one atom weight in the world. But with the position that you are in now, I'm sure that you have a lot of, even younger people and up and comers, people starting out in MMA, whether it's men or women, who will come to you and kind of ask for advice. And so I'm curious, when that does happen, what is kind of the number one thing that you would tell someone just getting into MMA as advice, or give those people who do come to you now at this point in your career?
伊沢選手もMMA に転向してから、随分時間も経っていろんな経験を積んで、これから、キャリアを、まだまだ伸ばしていくんですけれども、もうそろそろ伊沢選手にも教えを請うようなその次の時代の選手たちが、伊沢選手にMMA を教えてください、いろいろと教えてくださいっていうふうになってくると思うんですが、その時にそういうこれからの選手たちにどのようなアドバイスを、MMA をやるならばどういうアドバイスをあげたいと思いますか？
そうですね、アドバイス。やっぱり来る子によってその MMA に対する気持ちとか、覚悟とかも全然違うと思うので、その子のその子自身一人一人のまず、モチベーションとかをしっかり確認して、その子に合ったやり方、一番の、目標達成の方法を伝えていきたいなと思います。
Yeah, so I think every person who will potentially come up to me to ask for advice, it's going to differ per person. Everybody has their different motives. They have their different determinations toward the sport. And, I don't think I'll be able to give every single person the same advice. So my thing is that to talk with them, to communicate with the next generation and see what kind of, I would have to break down their personalities and characters and how they are looking at the sport before I give them the right advice. So I think being able to communicate with them and figuring out what would be the best type of advice would be the first step of getting to give a good advice.
Well, I love that, Seika. I think that is totally, the perfect way to go about it, because everybody is different, and not every fighter is created equally. So that's a fantastic outlook, and I think could make for a great teacher one day yourself as a coach, maybe with that mentality. So we'll see when we get there. But just as for your motives and goals, Seika, last thing I'll leave you with, you're always so much fun getting to chat with you. But in terms of the immediate goals, now that you are the champion, you got the Grand Prix out of the way like I know you wanted to do. Just what is kind of the next big thing that you want to accomplish? I know you want to beat as many, tough opponents as you possibly can, and all that kind of stuff. But is there something else in mind? What would you say is the next big thing that you want to check off your list and that will make you satisfied?
本当に先ほどの質問に対する回答なんですけれども、実に伊沢選手らしい回答で素晴らしい回答だと思います。本当に良い先生になりそうな、回答だと思いますね。そしてですね、それを踏まえた上で、次の質問なんですけれども、伊沢選手、今いろいろな、達成をしてですね、階級のチャンピオンにもなりました。グランプリのチャンピオンにもなりました。ここから先どういった目標、どういったものを目指して、格闘技を続けていきたいと思っているのか。当然伊沢選手はその強い選手とやりたい、どんどん強い人いるならば、もうそういう人たちと積極的にやっていきたいという気持ちは分かっているんですが、何か目印としてどういった、具体的な目標があるのか、ちょっとお聞かせいただけますでしょうか。
そうですね、やっぱり自分総合を始めた時も世界一になりたいって言って始めてるので、その気持ちは変わらないんですけど、やっぱり海外の団体とかを見ていくと階級がないので、階級ができるまでは自分はライジンとディープジュエルスのチャンピオンとしてもっともっと強い相手を倒していって成長しながら、逆に 若手であったり、これからの選手とかと戦って、どんどん女子格闘技のレベルを高くしていきたいなと思ってます。
So my goal when I first got into to MMA was to become the best of the world. And that goal still remains. However, the division that I compete in, the atomweight division, is still not a very popular division at a global stage. So until that division opens up at the world stage, I plan on continuing to fight in Rizin and Deep Jewels and continue to prove my values and skills. And while doing so, I hope to be able to, I look to raise the level of Japanese women's MMA in Japan.
All right. Certainly some great goals to have there. And I got to springboard off it real quick, Seika. I mean, like I said, many people at this point in the MMA community, fans and whatnot, already consider you the best in the world in the atomweight division. So for you, I know you don't think about yourself as that obviously right now, but what will it take for you to think that you have hit that point? Again, I know obviously it's incredible how early you still are in your career to already be at that spot in a lot of people's viewpoints, mine and many others. But for you, like, what would that take to get to that?
本当に伊沢選手は、すごく謙虚なので、ご自身ではそういうふうに思わないかもしれないですけども、本当に私を含め、たくさんのファンの方々が、もうすでに伊沢選手はアトム級では世界一になっていると。世界一のアトム級の選手だと思います。ただ伊沢選手は自分に厳しいんで、それを認めないと思うんですが、アトム級でこれ以上何をやったら伊沢選手ご自身で納得して自分が世界一のアトム級だっていうふうに思えると思いますか？
そうですね。どうしたらなれるんですかね。やっぱり、そうですね。戦う相手全部倒して、で、自分は、30歳までに総合格闘技はもう引退しようと思ってるので、そこまで勝ち切るっていうのが、自分の中では一番大事なポイントなのかなって思います。
Yeah, so I guess if that's the case, I would like to continue to fight the best and beat the best, at my division, so that I feel like I am the best. I want to fight to a point where there's no other competition left in my division, and that might be something. But also, I am already determined to hang them up when I'm 30. So I guess if I can't wait long enough, if time passes. Without the division being developed, I think my goal would be to continue to win and not lose until I'm 30.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah, I'm certainly, that's kind of what I expected was, for you to want to knock out as many people in your way as possible. And especially with that time frame, my goodness, we'll enjoy it while it lasts, Sek. I mean, you're already off to an incredible start, as I've said many, many times, and trending in the right direction. So, yes, we'll certainly enjoy the career while it lasts. But appreciate the time as always, Sek. I will let you get on with the rest of your day. Hope I didn't keep you too long. Just always so great getting to chat with you. And I want to congratulate you again on all the things you got going on, being the champ, the wedding, the new gym. There's so much to be, kind of happy about and celebrate. So big congratulations to you on all of it. And looking forward to the next fight, of course, as always. Best of luck with it and training camp and all the things you got going on. My goodness. So until then, Seika, I'm sure we'll catch up again in the future. And just a big arigato gozaimashita.
ありがとうございました。
Next up, it's the monsoon, Lorenz Larkn. All right, well, aside from the technical difficulties, Lorenz, happy Wednesday. How are things going? Just how's life, man?
It's going good, man. No complaints. Same old same.
Awesome. And yeah, I mean, it's very exciting to see you getting to go compete in Japan again. What, the second time, right? Big one, too. So, I mean, what was your reaction to getting the opportunity to go back, and how excited are you to go back? If you are excited, I mean, some people don't like the long travels, but for you, how is it?
I love them, man. I especially for Japan. My first time out there. I love the experience. Culture is super friendly, super respectful. the place is super clean. I don't know if you ever got to, go to Tokyo before, but and it was great, man. It was the greatest experience as far as, in my career that I've ever had. I fought at Madison Square Garden before, and that wasn't that much of a peak for me. This, was more so like my Madison Square Garden moment, with fighting at the site. First time fighting in Japan, and then fighting at the Saitama, it was like, to me, there's not a higher place that you could fight at, in my eyes. So yeah, it was great, man. It was a great experience. Now I get to experience it again. So
yeah. Was it
good.
was it trippy? Everyone always talks about the quietness and kind of focused fans out there who are less rowdy and maybe not paying as close attention to the grappling exchanges and all those fun things. Like the reactions were a lot different. Was that weird when you were there the first time?
No, because my coach has been out there before and he's kind of let me know, but I tend to like block out stuff anyway. But then like in the midst of fighting, I always hear like dumb shit going on, when we're in like the big crowds, and it's always like the weird off topic things I hear like when I'm by the cage, and I'm just like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, you're in a fight, like pay attention to the But without, with the Japanese culture, man, they're first off, they're like, everybody knows about fighting. It's such a fight culture, and if you do something good, doesn't matter if you're a wrestler or you're a fucking jiu-jitsu guy, you're a striker. If you do something that's technical and it's good, they're gonna clap, and then right after they're gonna show you the respect of not clapping, and don't get me wrong, like I enjoy when fans are fired up too, but I also can, when you look at it, they're just like super respectful, and it's almost like they want you to know that they appreciate it, but then they stop so you can hear your coaches. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's like a different world almost, so it's definitely very cool to always see. And man, obviously the event is a part of the Rising cross promotion that Bellator's been doing for years now, just continuing to get bigger and bigger with each event. I mean, just what do you make of the whole thing? How cool is it to get to be a part of something like this again, where it's two teams kind of working together to make a super team a little bit?
It's great, man, and it's not being done.
Yeah,
there's no, I can't think of nothing else that's out there that's doing it. Nobody's doing it. And for me, I know why. You know what I mean? And I would hope everybody else would know why, that nobody else wants to do it, because everybody says, oh, we have the best fighters in the world, and it's been saying that for years, but in all honesty, nobody has the best fighters of the world. Like, there's not one group that has all the best fighters in the world. It just doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. And with all those claims, doing this type of event, even though I'm fighting a Bellator guy, well, last time I fought a HORIZINH guy, but do those promotions want to take that leap and risk not having the best fighters in the world? For them, it's too much. It would hurt them too much, So I get it, but it doesn't matter because I'm not a part of that.
Yeah.
But, I love it, man. It's just, why not? If you guys can, come to an agreement and two big organizations can get together, it's like, it's crazy how fans are like, you would think more so on, Western fans should be like going crazy over something like what Bellator has been doing. It doesn't happen. Boxing, it happens, you know what I mean? But it doesn't happen like that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's it's almost like fantasy come to life, video game type stuff in the MMA world at this great scale. So it's pretty awesome, man. And you haven't got to be a part of a fight like in the ring or under the HORIZINH rules yet, though. Is that something you'd be interested in doing maybe for the next time in Japan?
Yeah. I would be down for it. soccer kick or something.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Let the violence flow.
Yeah, man. I mean, it probably just wouldn't be. I don't even think it'd probably be that big of an adjustment. It's just like, don't think about the rules.
Yeah.
Other than a nut kick or
Yes.
or eye gouge, don't do nothing crazy like that. But other than
The
that,
common sense things.
yeah, forget about the big rules.
Exactly, man. So it's always a fun time. And, you know, for the rematch here with Koreshkov, obviously great first fight, great first win that you had there. Just as for the expectations, it's been, you know, a bit, that was 2019, if I remember correctly, the first fight. So, like, what are your expectations this time around from him?
I've been in the sport for a while, man. And I've seen I'm more than positive. I've seen it all, you know, like I've seen the wrestlers, I've seen the strikers, I've seen the jiu-jitsu guys. I mean, maybe some more wrestling from them, you know what I mean? Or maybe some more spin kicks. But other than that, you know, it's just, I don't, you know, I don't see what else he can bring that would just totally catch me off guard, you know, other than, you know, he is who he is, you know, just like I am who I am. But it's all, you know, it's all going to lead up to who's a better man that night and who came prepared, you know. So, you know, and how camp has been, I'm feeling good, no injuries, and I'm ready to get out there.
Did you have any big takeaways from the first fight? I mean, obviously a win, so that's always a good thing. But in terms of, I guess, in preparation for him, things that you've stuck to, like you said, you've seen it all already, and you've literally seen him because of the rematch here. But yeah. I guess what were the big kind of things you remember, or if you did take away anything from the first encounter?
Watch out for spinning shit.
It's good. It's good.
Yeah, watch out for that, you know. But other than that, you know, it was just, yeah, I mean, even when he wrestled, you know, it was just like he was trying to hold me, you know, like not trying to, you know, do damage.
Right.
So I don't know. With stuff like that, I'm just like, come on, like, if I'm gonna take you down, I'm not holding you. I'm not trying to hold you down. I'm trying to inflict damage. You know, everything with me is I'm trying to inflict damage. So, you know, I don't know. Just watch out for spinning stuff.
Fair.
That's the only thing I can really take away. You know, I'm not underestimating. He's a great fighter, and you know, he was the champion at one time. So, yeah, I'm gonna take him as serious as I took him the first time. That win doesn't mean shit to me right now.
Yeah, it's kind of like a new ball game, and I mean he's what hasn't lost since he fought you. So I mean, I think 4 in a row. Have you kept up with his career? Followed? Maybe watched some of those once you had the fight booked this time around, but been keeping up.
Yeah, I looked up to see. You know, I was just trying to, in my head, figure out why he was like number 6 and I was like number 9.
Yeah, wait a minute, math doesn't check out there.
Yeah, I was like, okay, well, I beat him, and then he fought somebody outside of Bellator, which was a 55er that came up to 70. So he beat him. Okay, that's out of Bellator. I don't even count that.
Right.
Then he fought, 3 times in Bellator? Yeah, I think 3 times in Bellator.
His last fight was out of Bellator, so he had actually 2 out of Bellator.
Oh, 2 out of Bellator.
Yeah.
And then how many in Bellator since we fought?
2 between the ones outside. So 4 total. Yeah.
So 2 outside and 2 inside.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm sitting there at the fucking computer. I'm like, all right, so 2 outside and 2 inside. I fought since him 5 or 6 times inside of Bellator. But he's 6 and I'm 9. I was like, okay. I'm no mathmatician, but shit, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, make it make sense.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to do, but it still doesn't.
Yeah, so just got to go beat him again is the easiest solution to that, as a guarantee to fix the wrongs there. But I mean, just as for everything in mind there, Lorenz, like, aside from getting that rankings bump, like, what do you think a win does for you, man? Because you have been just killing it right now with this streak, kind of a race, the weird first Berkhamov fight with a, you know, knockout of the year in the rematch the last time out. So, I mean, you got to be right there. I mean, this could get you a title shot, you would think, right? What are you feeling?
You would think that, right?
Yeah.
But with all the info I just gave you, I don't know,
Yeah.
man. This is my type of luck. What's gonna happen is I'm gonna go in there, I'm gonna beat him again, and he's gonna go up to number 7, and then maybe the number 10 guy will get knocked out of the rankings, and then I'll take the number 8 spot,
Right.
and then we'll go for, then we might have to do a third one.
Yeah.
And then take his spot. Yeah. After the trilogy, then I'll be able to take number 6.
Yes. It's the battle. It's the battle for the 6th spot, which still is too low.
Yeah. That'll probably be it.
Oh man, it's crazy. Definitely the rankings madness and whatnot. But obviously the goal is to get to that title, Lorenz, and the champ has yet to lose, and came back looking great in his last fight. I'm sure you saw that one. I mean, just what have you made of Yaroslav Amosov, and like how exciting of a potential fight is that for you? Whenever that may come as you keep winning. But just thoughts on the unbeaten champ, man. It would be great to be the first guy to put that L on the record, I'm sure.
Yeah, man, he's a great champion. I mean, from what I see of him, I've never talked to him, but he looks like a stand-up guy, and respectful champ, and it's just we'll see. I'm truly not even putting my head in that space until
Fair enough.
I get like the big call and be like, hey, this,
Right.
And even then, I'll probably still be a little weary about it.
Yeah. Not until you're in the cage.
Send it over in paper with a lawyer, and then we'll go.
Exactly. So he's definitely been on a roll, though, man. And I wanted to mention this to you as well. Just looking back on your career, Lorenz, obviously been a great run, and have some great wins in your career. And one of the past opponents just retired this past weekend. Robbie Lawler had quite the send-off in the UFC. Incredible, 38-second knockout, and just kind of picture perfect how you'd want it to end your career. I mean, just having shared the cage with Robbie, I want to get your thoughts on, like, I guess just his career and like your favorite moment of his and what it was like getting to share the cage with a guy like that.
It was just I was really just happy, just genuinely happy for him that he was able to go out like that, and not going out in like the pussy way about it. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, people who really watch fighting, they know when somebody has got a gimme fight. Right. You know what I mean? And Nico Price is not a slouch whatsoever. So for him to, take that fight and know it was his last fight and go in there and do that and walk out of there, with that type of fight being the ending of his career is like, I have nothing but respect for that. You know what I mean? It's, it just sucks when you see guys that should have stopped a long time ago.
Yeah.
That keep trying to go and keep trying to get these wins, and they're just racking up loss after loss after loss, and then they finally call it quits. But it's just like in MMA, it's not like boxing. You know what I mean? Like MMA, you lose like 3 times, and everybody's just like, oh, he's done. Like he's a horrible fighter. You know what I mean? They don't really look at the past.
Yeah.
They're just looking at that little end of your, of your rap sheet. So for him to go out like that, it was great. It was great to see, and he's always like a guy who just brings it. He comes to fight. Like, he's not trying to fucking outpoint you and all this other shit. He comes to fight. If a fight doesn't go his way, it doesn't go his way, but he is coming to fight, not squeak by, points off of you, and just trying to do that, just, so I got nothing but respect for him. He was always a stand-up dude. So
yeah, absolutely. Congrats to him on the great career and all that fun stuff, man. And I mean, would you remember like being nervous or anything ahead of the matchup at the time? Like, he's obviously known for his ruthless ways and all that stuff, but what do you remember like going into it?
Oh yeah, like I'll actually tell you a story I've never even told anybody before. Well, first, so when I fought him, we were in Portland, Oregon, Or was it Portland? I think it was Portland.
Let's see. I got it up right here. Yeah, that was in Portland. The
Portland.
Rockhold Kennedy card. My hometown. That's where I live.
Oh, okay. So we fought there, and at the hotel, like he had all these fucking guys with him, and they were in like fucking speedo, like
Dennis Hallman stuff.
Yeah, like the not the banana hammocks, but they had like the compression underwear on, like and they like had running shoes on, and they were just like no fucking shirts on. They're all like yoked up, and they're all like, I was in the lobby, and they're just all walking by me. I was like, oh, what the fuck? Like, it's just a big group of these guys, and they're just all sweaty and about to go run. I was like, so anyway, fast forward weigh-ins. So I'm cutting weight in the sauna, and it's fucking getting miserable because there's a lot of people. Like it wasn't that big of a sauna, but there was a lot of fighters in the sauna, and I was bitching and complaining because I was just over it at that time, cutting the weight, and I'm literally looking at my coach, waiting for him to be like, all right, like it's time to get out, because he already knows that I've been fucking complaining and shit. In walks in Lawler. He fucking sits down, and then a minute goes by, which was over, like, we do it in increments or whatever. So he opens the door. He's like, all right. And I'm just like looking at him. I'm like, no, I'm good. I'm just chilling. I start shadow boxing, but I'm like fucking hurting. I'm hurting. I'm like, fuck this. But that's just the mentality. Like,
right.
He walked in. I had no choice to be like, nah, fuck that. I start shadow boxing, moving around, and ended up staying in there like, fuck, dude, I don't know. I think like an extra 10 minutes, man.
Wow.
So yeah, it was a good little story, but yeah. Don't be a bitch when your opponent walks in the.
Yes, exactly. Gotta hold the ground. Extra 10 minutes. Let's go.
It's all up here, man.
That's awesome. Good stuff. Only in Portland, right? So, but man, I mean, speaking of, fighters hanging on for too long and whatnot, obviously we unfortunately see that a little bit more often than maybe we would like to see. And so, I'm not saying we want to see things come to an end anytime soon, Lorenz, but you've been in the game for a long time yourself, man. Like, how much longer are you kind of wanting to compete for? And do you have like a moment when you're like, all right, around here is when you kind of ideally want to, call it a career? Are you just going with the flow? Like, how are you kind of visualizing that aspect?
I'm just kind of going with the flow right now. I've luckily had the type of style to where I've never really accumulated damage like that in my fights. And I was just talking, another interview, I was thinking, like, back in my fights, like, it's kind of hard to even look at a lot of my fight and think about the times where, you've seen me bloody,
right?
See me with swollen eyes, or just cuts all over. Like, I'm never really beat up. I mean, I might be sore, aches and that type of shit. But as far as like cuts and just, and just
serious damage,
really taking serious damage, I've never really taken serious damage. So, to me, as long as I can keep up with these little young guys, fuck it. But on the other hand of that, but once when I do feel like, I'm a little step behind these guys, and for me, that's when it's time to hang them up. I'm not at the age where I can keep up. Like I'm not trying to have these guys ahead of me and trying to keep up. I rather if we're still there at on the even playing field, or if not, I'm faster than you, which I shouldn't be because I'm fucking 36. But if I'm still up there and I can still play, like, I'm gonna keep fucking playing.
Man, is it crazy for you to remember that you used to fight at light heavyweight?
I mean, when I was amateur, I fought heavyweight.
Man, I mean, that feels so weird in hindsight.
No, it does, man. I think at the end of my, right before the end of my career, I'll do 155, and then I think that should give me some type of record for like most weight.
I mean, yeah, all 5
Most
of
weight
the main.
classes.
Jeez,
Yeah.
no doubt. Would you change anything to start your career if you could? Because like obviously, I think it's safe to say you've been your best at. I mean, you could take your pick at middleweight or welterweight, but is there anything, or you think it led to this?
No, man. It's like I live my life by just experiences, man, and who's to say, if I would have started out at 70, I don't even know, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like it could have been totally opposite, So for me to fight these big guys and get my body down, I think it's only brought me strength, and I was able to carry that, the strength and speed down, which is, not everybody can do. So I wouldn't change it. You know what I mean? Who's to say? I mean, if I would have just started at 70, I'd probably be a fucking heavyweight, right?
Yeah, it would have gone backwards.
so over it and just be like, oh. So I think it was I wouldn't change it. I wouldn't change it.
Yeah, things worked out. Things worked out pretty good. So, all right, man. Well, it's been great getting to catch up with you, Lorenz. Last thing I will leave you with, man, just speaking of like these moments in your career and whatnot, like, do you have a proudest victory so far? Like, obviously, you want to keep racking them up, get some ones that you can say would be better than what you've got so far, perhaps. But at the moment, what would you say has been the proudest victory if one stands out over all the others?
I got two. Sorry to fuck up your question.
All good.
Man.
All good.
I got two. I think my first one would be the Neil Magny. I think that was a big win for me, because not so much because of the opponent, not taking nothing away from him, but in that time and aspect, I felt like I was getting fucked around, and I was getting like the shit end of the stick, and it was more so of like, you're gonna lose, and then we're gonna try to resign you for some bullshit, like that's what I felt, and it probably was the truth. And so that whole camp, it wasn't even so much, I wasn't even thinking about him, you know what I mean? It was more so like, fuck UFC, like I'm gonna fuck things up for you so bad right now. Like that's what I felt like. I was just like, I am gonna fuck it up for you. Like your whole plan, I'm fucking it up. So that and the last fight, because how it started, with the no contest and people doubting me in that one too, you know what I mean? Coming into that fight, I was an underdog. And then after the fight, I was so adamant about that the guy didn't have nothing for me. And people, I always like, I'm always on the internet. I don't know why I always do this, like when I talk about the internet, but I'm always like, I'm the lurker on the internet.
Yeah.
I look at comments. I'm just like, oh, okay, whatever. But, a lot of people are like, oh, he took him down. He was holding him there. But, like I kept saying, like, he took me down, but he wasn't doing anything. Like I'm getting up, and he's just like. So anyway, long story short, fast forward, I had my son there. He was watching the fight, and for it to happen like that, and still for me to be the underdog, and I got to bet on myself, so it was like 2 wins for me that night. And so yeah, it was good to have my son experience that, and then for me to just a lot of people up and be like, you thought. So I guess I always enjoy the fuck you moments.
Fair, man. Yeah.
Yeah.
Proving people wrong, all that good
Yes,
stuff.
I love it.
Can't beat those. That is for sure, man. So all right, Lorenz. Well, can wrap it up there, man. Appreciate the time as always, and I'm looking forward to the next fight. Wishing you the best of luck with the rest of camp and safe travels, and hope you get to enjoy Japan and the scenery outside of the fight stuff and just the whole experience, man. So it should be a good old time. And so, Appreciate you taking the time, man, and we'll be watching, so best of luck with everything.
All right, thank you, man.
And last but not least, it is the former Bellator featherweight champion, AJ McKee. All right, AJ, man, well, happy Thursday, sir. Just how are things? How's life of the mercenary these days?
And life's good. I can't complain. Just got done training. Did my rounds today, so life's good.
All right, so I got the nap coming up, I'm sure.
Yeah, I just got some food. After those interviews, I'm gonna take a nice nap and then hit the gym again.
All right, cool. Eat anything good, or you got to kind of maintain the diet right now?
I get to eat whatever I want now, man.
There you go. The featherweight days behind us.
Yeah, for now.
Awesome, man. Yeah, so first time we've caught up since before your last fight. Obviously, congrats on that. Great win over Satoshi. Great fight overall, man. Good fun stuff, as they always are with you. But I got to notice, like, I know you enjoyed the Japan experience and getting to go there and just everything that came with it. But from your point of view, man, like, how great was it actually? And just the overall time, not just the fight itself, but exploring everything and whatnot.
Oh man, since I was a kid, Japan's always been the pinnacle of the sport. You know what I mean? So to go out there and be able to put on a great show in front of that crowd, it was phenomenal. You know, there's no crowd that compares to a Japanese crowd. Just the respect level, the honor level. You know, since the Pride Glory days, it's different. You know, I feel they cherish and value the sport on a different level. So to be able to go out there and put on a great show and get some soccer kicks in and some knees to the grounded opponents, you know, that's something I've dreamed of since I was a child. So, yeah, come full circle, man. Here we are. Now we're taking Bellator out there, and we're gonna introduce him into a cage fight.
Yeah, man. I mean, did you think you'd get to go back so soon?
Not really, honestly. I was expecting maybe like another New Year's show or something, but what better way to start off the 155-pound Grand Prix tournament, you know? The feud, the rivalry between the Pit Bulls and I, and another $1 million on the line.
Absolutely. Couldn't ask for anything better, man. And just going back to the Satoshi fight real quick, I want to know, like, haven't had all the time now, a half a year to look back on it. Crazy. Feels like it was not that long ago, but, like, how do you reflect on it, man? Like, were you overall happy with the performance? I know you always want your finish and whatnot, but just how do you look back on that one with the champ?
Definitely, man. It was a fun fight. I don't think I've ever fought anybody with the caliber of jiu-jitsu that he had. So coming full circle, you know, it was just go out there. I wanted to make sure that I could play his game and show that, you know what I mean? I'm not scared of his jiu-jitsu, and, you know, my jiu-jitsu is just as good as well. So just shooting for submissions as well, and trying to put him in those dangerous spots as well.
Were there any moments where you felt like you were in danger? Because, I mean, as a spectator, there were moments where, you know, he was maybe getting the back and things like that. But did you ever feel, I don't know about worried or anything like that, but any problems, I guess, in that sense?
No, not really. I felt very comfortable, especially when he had my back, you know. Obviously, our rule set, that's not somewhere where you want to be. Somebody can just hold on to you and win a fight. So, but that's why I say, just the Japanese rule set, you know, it's a bit more barbaric. It just goes back to the originality of fighting. Mm-hmm. It's who's causing the most damage. It's not about control and who can hold on. You know what I mean? It's about real fighting. You know what I mean? Who's causing damage, not who's holding on for dear life.
Yeah, absolutely. A little bit more realistic, right? If you're on the streets and you can do all these things. So I gotta love it. But so you mentioned, obviously, Japan being the pinnacle, right? I think a lot of people will not disagree with that. But you fought in some pretty unique places outside of, you know, the U.S. and Japan, AJ. So I'll assume Japan number one. But I'm curious, what would you say is the second best environment between, you know, you fought in Hawaii, Italy, and Ireland. And, you know, Ireland, pretty rambunctious, you know, group as well. But out of those three, what would you say is the number two spot?
I didn't get to fight there, but I love being in the UK, man. I love being in the UK. The environment out there in the UK is awesome. But thus, where I've fought, I would say Hawaii, man. It's just the weather. It's such a beautiful place. Yeah, you can be walking around in the sun, and next thing you know, it's raining. You know what I mean? So it's like California weather, but a little bit better. That's the one place I can say has better weather than California.
Of course, yeah, can't beat that, man. So, obviously, another one of the things we remember most from the last fight was your great walkout. Had the samurai suit, of course. So, are you gonna bring that back this time, or something new for the walkout? Is that one and done? What are we doing going forward?
That was one and done, man. That was one and done. That's my first fight. It was it was a special thing. The thing's made out of python skin and leather. So it's sitting down. It'll be sitting down in the man cave. Maybe I'll sell it one day. No, I'm not selling that thing. I don't think I'll get around to selling it. That's something that's like a family heirloom. Yeah, this one we're gonna have a new walkout, and it's gonna be more. It's more Japan based. You know what I mean? It's more their culture, their speed. Something that even if you're not into fighting, just the culture from Dragon Ball Z to One Piece to the anime to the Mario Karts to everything. You know what I mean? This is something that even if you don't like fighting and you're into any type of just entertainment, this is something that you can definitely grab some popcorn and watch this walkout for.
All right, awesome, man. Definitely looking forward to it. I always good at impressing with that aspect. So, as we get ready for the Patricky fight, man, obviously you're quite familiar with the Pitbull brothers. Obviously, haven't fought Patricky yet, but of course, they have their similarities. So, in dissecting them in this matchup specifically, like, what are you kind of expecting out of Patricky? I think it might be fair to say he's maybe a little more aggressive than Patricio, but I don't know. How are you kind of breaking him down, and what are you expecting exactly out of him in this one?
Yeah, I think he's a bit more aggressive. He's a bit more laid back. His punches are a bit more tighter, so his hands are in tighter. He's got that lead hook, you know what I mean? You don't want to get caught by that lead hook. Outside of that, man, it's a fight, you know what I mean? I can say what he's going to do, and I can expect something, but until we get in there, man, and that gate closes, I don't really know what he's going to do nor what I'm going to do.
Absolutely. And I got to wonder, AJ, from your perspective, like how you feel about, there's kind of been this narrative, it feels like, since he lost to Usman that, people are starting to call him washed, he's done, Patricky's going to go out there and just get smashed by AJ, which, could happen no matter what version of him you're getting. But do you think it's fair to say, reading these narratives and a lot of people are counting him out, is that, of course, can make it more dangerous, but how do you feel about kind of this thing that's going around?
Man, it's a fight, dude. It only takes one punch, you know what I mean? One mistake, 1 second, and the entire plot of the fight changes. So for me, I can't look past Patricky. He's held that title for a reason. He was the champ for a reason, and yeah, I'm just looking forward to going out there and putting on a great show.
And speaking of one punch, man, all you needed was one punch against Georgie, getting the last knockout that you had. So I gotta imagine that was 2019. You're probably itching, man. Is that the goal, to go out and get a knockout, specifically, of course, to take a finish? However, but a good knockout like that, I'm sure you're hoping for something like that one again.
Definitely. I've been thinking a lot. I'm like, I haven't backflipped in a while. You know what I mean? Anybody out or gotten a finish in quite some time. So. It's something I'm looking forward to getting back to, and hopefully this will be the fight to do it.
For sure, man. And what better way in front of the Japanese crowd and all the factors that go into it. The tournament could add up very nicely. So I want to go back to the beginning a bit, though, AJ, because you're in a very unique position compared to, I think, a lot of fighters where, growing up, you had your dad, who was a fantastic fighter himself, in the big leagues, all that stuff. So I got to wonder, like, when you got into MMA, it was probably not as, I don't want to say not as difficult for most, but you had such a great, mentor and guy to help you out just throughout your whole life. So for you, what would you say was like the hardest thing adapting to when starting MMA? Just because I feel like, you had such a great guy to help you out and, throughout the whole way and whatnot.
I think just keeping my head out my ass, staying humble, man, and just learning, you got to be willing to learn in this sport. So just really learning, man, soaking up all the knowledge, all the careers around me, just watching the way and watching the paths that they've paved, and kind of just take my own bits and pieces of each one and add it to my own journey, the goods and the bads, note the bads and what's the word I'm looking for? And just kind of follow remark this the goods, you know, add those into the arsenal.
For sure, man. And would you say there's a specific moment that stands out to you in your career that was like the biggest learning lesson for you? Obviously, there's a bunch along the way, but maybe a big one.
So I would say the biggest lesson, yeah, man, like don't go into a fight if you're not prepared. You know, there were a couple occasions where I went into a fight and I just wasn't prepared. So, but at the same time, I feel like it built the character for myself. You know, those are the fights where you go in there and you leave it all on the line. You know what I mean? You leave it all on the line, and you go in there and you know the job that you have to do. You know, it's fight until you can't fight anymore. So whether you're prepared or not, you know, that's just that warrior mindset. Go out on your shield, and now what better way than to be prepared and to be willing to go out on your shield? You know, I don't feel there's much that can stand in front of you at that point.
Yeah, totally understandable, man. And you know, we can't time travel or anything, AJ, but I'm curious, you know, now that we're done with featherweight and all that, able to eat whatever you want, all this good stuff, like what would you have done had you won the Patricio rematch? Were you planning to always, you know, call it right there, or was it more of just how things played out? Like when you look back on kind of that moment and making the decision to leave featherweight behind?
You know, so this is the thing. Before Conor even became champ, I said I was going to be a champ. Mm-hmm. So for me, winning the 45-pound title was ideal. You know, I wanted the rematch to be at 155. Things didn't happen. We ran it back at 145, and so forth. So the trilogy didn't happen. So at that point, there's nothing left for me at 145 pounds. You know, I've ran through the entire division. What's really left? Maybe I'll go back down to 145. We get another and finish off that trilogy. But other than that, there's really no reason for me to put my body through the trauma of getting to 145 pounds, you know. Like I've said, I know I'm the best in the world at 145 pounds. I don't care who it is, where it is, what it is. I got M's. If anybody's trying to come test it, put your money up and let's test it. You know what I mean? Outside of that, 155 pounds, you know, my father was a lightweight, so I'm looking forward to carrying the reins at this lightweight division and working and showing everyone that I'm the best at 155 pounds as well. So yeah, it's always been my goal. It's always been my goal to be a double champ, a triple champ, you know what I mean? In my career at 170 more than likely. So it's just keep building and one stepping stone at a time.
Of course, man. Yeah, I got to worry about what's in front of you first. And just speaking of Patricio real quick again, like, do you think there's any chance he'll come up to 155 again for maybe to make the trilogy? I mean, obviously he's fluctuating all over the place now.
You said 55?
Yeah.
Hell no. If he don't want it at 45s, he damn sure don't want it at 55. Come on now. Maybe 45s, you know, maybe we'll get that one at 45s again.
Yeah. Well, we'll have to see, obviously some good motivation for him after he beat his brother, but until then, so, all right, AJ, well, I'll let you get on with the rest of your day, man. Always great getting to catch up and chat with you. Always great getting to watch you fight, so best of luck with rest of camp and safe travels. Another good time in Japan it will be, and looking forward to the walkout and just the rest of the tournament playing out, sir. So thanks so much for the time, and hope you have a great weekend and rest of your Thursday, man.
Thanks, and likewise, man. Peace and blessings. Hope you have a blessed day.
And once again, at the end of another episode, Shingo, so everybody you know what that means, community questions time. Even though we just got a small batch here, we appreciate them so much, and we will get right to them. But before then, Shingo, we haven't really talked about Horizon 43 yet, man. I want to mention it to you just because I personally think, and I'm very excited to hear what you think and how it was in person, but that was an all-timer event. And I don't mean just for Horizon, but like the variety of like finishes that we got on that card was absolutely insane. With only 3 decisions out of 17 fights, I mean, that's a crazy ratio right there. Like, man, tell me from being in the arena, like what was the energy like, just that whole event? I think it was absolutely insane.
Yeah, you know, a lot of people, this happens a lot when we travel outside of Tokyo, the metropolis area, and we go to a new city. a lot of people are excited to be able to attend our event for the first time. So the energy was amazing. And the tickets went really quick, even before we announced the fight cards. So it was very nice to know that we were very welcomed and anticipated over in Hokkaido, and the fights definitely showed. A lot of the times when we travel to countryside, we like to use the local fighters or fighters who came from that area, even though they're living and training in Tokyo right now, but they want to go back and show what they've worked on. So we focused on a lot of the local talent there, and which everybody was motivated to show what they've got. So I think that showed in the results and all the fighters' performances. The one thing that really kind of hurts me as a matchmaker, is that when you get good finishes, you get good fights. Like, you want both fighters to shine, right? But when you have exciting finishes, unbelievable, crazy finishes left and right, if there's a winner, there's always a loser. So for me, like, in a perfect world, it'd be nice to have a back and forth, awesome fight,
Right.
and then get a finish out of it. It's very exciting, competitive fight.
Rather than somebody just getting destroyed, like one-sided,
Right.
quick.
So the fight game is brutal.
Yeah.
And you always have to remember that on the other side of an exciting finish, there's a fighter being finished. So for me, it would be nice for that fighter, if or he or she was satisfied with their performance and lost with a satisfactory performance. But it doesn't always work that way. So for I don't know, it was just a lot of incredible finishes, and I think a lot has to do, as I said, with the local fighters being very motivated and about making a statement and putting their name on the mat, and that energy that it showed during the fight, and the results came with it.
Yeah, undeniable, and it takes a pretty good matchmaker too, I would say, but that's just my my opinion. Which fight would you say, or which performance finish stood out the most to you, that maybe surprised you? Because I mean, there was, like I said, everything was kind of like, holy shit, that just happened, and then again and again and again.
But there were a lot of like crazy stuff, full of highlights and vicious.
I mean, that modified twister on Trent Girdham, I didn't even know what happened at first.
I didn't either. I didn't. Yeah, that was a very rare. It's a HORIZIN's promotional first twister.
Yeah,
and a modified twister. So it was very unique. That definitely stood out. The Ida fight.
Yeah.
And shoot, I forgot. Nisugura and Ida fight. That was a brutal finish. The women's fight, I don't think I've seen a
knockout like that in a while. Kuriyama, man.
Time. That might have been the second or the first vicious knockout since the Hisaya Watanabe days.
Yeah, at least Andrade with she had the Carolina one, but yeah, that was crazy. And I mean, geez, Kimura on Lukaku. Never seen quite a slow motion fall like that.
That was a Francisco Bueno moment.
yeah.
Completely back from 20 years ago.
I mean, the card, it just had everything. Like, it wasn't just like one either, like knockouts only. That's why I loved it so much, because the submissions, which came kind of at the end and mixed in with the twister there, and then all those knockouts, like, it was insane. So that was, I think, a very, very special card.
We even had to fight off 3 bears.
What do you mean?
That
like,
showed up
literally?
Like
real bears?
Yeah, like we had to, like real bears. There were 3 bear sightings on the premises a couple days before our event. So the the city didn't want us to hold the event. They're like, "Can you cancel?"
Oh wow!
Because they're like wild bear sightings, and they don't want like 6,000 to 10,000 people
around some bears.
around bears. So like we had to double up on security. We had to fence off a lot more additional stuff, but we still made the event happen. But even before that exciting fight, there's some pre-fights going on.
See, it made that energy for the craziness. It led to that. Man, where was Habib for this event? Right, would have been no problem then.
Yeah. Just 3 little bears. They're not even grizzlies. They're just black bears.
Yeah. That's still a pretty funny story. So, all right, Shingo. Well, yep, great stuff there with Ryzen 43, and we'll be kicking off these community questions asking about Ryzen 43. So let's get to them. We got them from Cap'n here, starting us off. As he asks or says, given the success of Ryzen 43's broadcast, what was the internal reaction to the broadcast's numbers? Surprised, expected, and how receptive is Ryzen to future events being broadcast on YouTube? Is it a possibility? Right. This was the the first one officially on YouTube, at least for Japan, right?
Yeah, well, I have to apologize for the international fans, but for this Ryzen 43 event, we gave the entire show for free in Japan only. So that was our first time giving our content for free. Ever since COVID and Fuji television, terrestrial television and whatnot. But it was a great success. I think at one point we were the #1 trending live content in the world with I think 330,000 live viewers or something. I don't know. I don't know the details, but at a certain point we were the #1 live content in the world at the time. So it just shows, how much. And we definitely use that show to promote the crap out of Super Ryzen that's coming up this weekend. So it all worked out, and the numbers turned out great. I think YouTube is definitely a solid platform. We have 1 million subscribers already. Yeah. So, and mostly Japanese. If we can kind of start sharing with the international audience, we might be able to double that. So, it was something that we tried, and there were a lot of good takeaways from it.
So was it kind of just like an experimental idea? Obviously, Saki Kabara likes to just kind of try things every now and then. Was it just kind of like that? No specific reason?
No specific reason.
I mean.
When that kind of stuff comes up, it's always a crazy idea, right?
Yeah.
Like, why would you give away all this potential revenue? But when you look in a bigger picture, it made sense and it was the right call.
Yeah, I mean, geez, and just talking about how much it delivered as an actual event. So, yeah. Very cool indeed. And he continues asking, speaking of broadcasts, is there a plan for any changes to Ryzen English commentary? Is in-house possibility for New Year's Eve? So this is a reoccurring question, Shingo. I don't know if we need to address this one too much other than probably not. Like, of course, everyone wants to see the guys back in the arena and whatnot, but not super necessary at this point. Maybe just for New Year's Eve, as he's mentioning, but I'm assuming there hasn't been much changes on that front.
Yeah, I mean, we would definitely love to have them back, and it's just, I mean, I guess it's a similar question to why did the UFC continue to do Apex fights?
Right. Yeah.
So it's not ideal, but it makes sense with the given situation. So, I mean, it's always nicer. It's always nicer to have the commentary on site for sure. Absolutely. And, we would want to do that occasionally if it makes sense. And, if it's the right occasion.
Yep. Absolutely. So, yep. Sorry, guys. I know that's a reoccurring question, but we'll address it as best as we can every time. But Cap'n closes off his round here saying, finally, Ryzen's roster has seen more and more international fighters step into the ring, with new additions coming from Hawaii and a new batch of fighters from Eastern Europe, says Azerbaijan, Russia, etc. Are there any new locations you'd like to see Ryzen break ground in? And is there any ideas for future scouting tryouts anywhere new?
That's a good question. I mean, we're always looking for exciting talent that, kind of the talent and characters that fit Ryzen of what we do. We were just discussing this with Sakakibara-san yesterday, but, I do think that, Ryzen has kind of solidified a very unique approach to the sport. It's like right in the middle of, because we do a lot of storytelling, and the fans feel like they're reading a big, long book, history. And, that's kind of very unique in what we do. So right now, I think we're not looking for the best fighters. Like, we're looking for fighters that can tell a story, that have character, that, that can be a part of the book, the Ryzen book, So, and that just all comes down to character and abilities. We're not looking for the best fighter with the best mixed martial arts technique, which is also nice to have, but if there's no character, there's no story to it, it's just very hard to make it turn it into a story and a star. Yeah. So wherever there's talent, wherever there is a story to it, we would like to access to it. I've been reaching out to some regions. We'll be focusing on certain regions at later of the year. I can't really mention this right now, but there will be some demand for certain specific region fighters, and you'll definitely see a different batch of fighters fighting in Rizin in the near future. Of
course, always expanding, especially with things back and open again. And yeah, it's just kind of strange to me, like, just to answer the question a little bit too, is saying anywhere specific to look for or tap into. Like, I don't know. Obviously, it kind of goes in waves, right? Where certain countries or whatnot will have their fighters that come in and we're like, oh, this place is on fire right now. I mean, look at Mexico this year has been the big talk for UFC, right? Like, it's all about momentum. And so for me, it feels weird to be like, let's kind of look at this place specifically, because it's all about timing, right? So I don't know. I can't say I have a specific place I'd look at. I mean, the first one that came to mind was like Thailand, because I feel like a little bit the Thai fighters, at least always with Muay Thai, of course, doing very well these days. But I don't know, that's kind of a tricky question. So always like to look around.
Sorry, it all depends on what the strategy of the company is. Yeah. What strategy they're trying to make at the time. So therefore it makes sense to go after those fighters in that specific region. Yeah. Obviously, like EFC is going after China, Africa, continents, and it's like it totally depends on the strategy. Yeah. I'll just
yeah, no, totally perfect. Makes sense there. So all right, Captain, appreciate those right there as he that closes off for him, and we will be wrapping up here today with our man Ozeki Jim. So we lost our MVP this time. King Seo, shout out to him still, but he didn't get one in for this episode. But we got Ozeki Jim bringing just a one little fun one here, a hypothetical. We always love those. So last one of the day, he asks, I just want to know if you guys could pick one fighter from the UFC to join Rizin. Who would it be, and why do you think they would be a good fit for the current roster? So I'll go first, Shingo, as I've been thinking about this one a little bit, so I'll give you time. But of course, there are the obvious answers of like just the typically most exciting guys out there. So the first one that comes to mind is the most exciting fighter of all time, in my opinion, Justin Gaethje, which, a guy who's just going to be violence everywhere he goes. That comes to mind. But I thought about it more, and I was thinking, like, I like to see the fighters who have super high fight IQ test their skills in a new environment with like different rules. So I think it would be really cool to see like the smartest guy out there right now, probably Alexander Volkanovski, how he would adapt and utilize the Rizin rules to his advantage. And then even, I know it might be a little cheap to choose the best guys like him, but even somebody like Islam who can take you down and then use the ground rules to his advantage too, I think that would be just crazy awesome to see him do that. But might be a little bit of cheating answers, but I think those would be the ones just in this fantasy world I would love to see. Shingo, what you got any choices?
Man, that's a hard one. I don't know, man.
Yeah.
I am still in awe that Pantoja won the flyweight title.
Yeah,
that was a great fight.
So good,
fantastic fight. And can you believe Hiromasa Ogikubo has a win over Pantoja?
Yeah.
I was talking to him about that the other day. Because of the short notice replacement, he stepped up to fight Juan Archuleta. And we were just talking in the back, and he was like, "Yeah, I've trained with Archuleta before, during the tough season." And he's very motivated because one of his teammates, Tatsuro Taira, he's doing well in the UFC. The UFC flyweight division has been putting on really exciting fights, and it seems like it's going to stay. The Moreno versus Pantoja fight was definitely motivating for Hiromasa. So I'd kind of like to see the smaller guys fight under, like you said, under specific rules. And just by having grounded knees just changes the whole dynamics of the fight. Keeps the fighter more aware, alert, and constantly active in the fight. And there's really no place to hide and rest if you adapt those rules. So I don't know. I mean, even when you're watching the UFC or Bellator or any like, there's certain times where you're like, oh man, I wish we had these rules.
Right. Every time. For me anyway.
Probably have a different top 10 ranking just by introducing those rules. And I think that would make like the current like MMA scene is kind of dull, right? It's become like a whole routine and machine. Adding that kind of spice and stuff might change things around, make things a lot more interesting. So I don't know if that's the answer you were looking for. I can't.
I'll
really
take it.
Can't.
I'm sure Jim will too. But yes, I mean, you can't really go wrong. I think it'd be there's a countless number of options, obviously, but always fun to kind of ponder in that regard, Jim. So appreciate it greatly, sir. And appreciate everyone for tuning in. That concludes the community questions for the day. And that concludes episode 29. Shingo, we got the big 30 coming up next. My goodness, that'll be a good one to recap Super Rising with. So get ready for that, everybody. Going to be a good show, as it always is fun. Getting collaborative with Bellator and whatnot. So stay tuned for that. July 29th coming up here in just a matter of days. But until then, hit like, share, subscribe, do all that good stuff. Follow along, MMAmania.com. Check out HORIZINH stuff, of course, on the YouTube channel, the Confession series, all the good stuff going on. And until then, we will see you next time for HORIZINH episode 30, you guys. Thank you so much.